Just like to offer a big shout out to Touchdown Digital, the sponsor of this week's video.
Hello everyone, Glenn Samuel here. Today I've come out to a location which is absolutely gorgeous. I'm at a place called Brownhill, just outside of Camden, Brownhill it's called, and I'm setting up for my first composition. I spent a week travelling around here very early of a morning, seeing what the light does in this area. And as a previous vlog I put up during the week about scouting, scouting is super important, and I arrived here, well this is about 2 hours away from where I live, so I left home at around about 3:15 this morning, so it's been a very early start. But I'm glad I have, because the past week I came through here in the morning, and very early in the morning, just watching the light around about 6 a.m. And after about a week of scouting this area, I've found half a dozen compositional elements here which I think is just fantastic. We have a little bit of fog here, but before I get into the first composition, I want to talk to you about three things that people often ask me, and they're quite, they're curious. People are very curious by nature. And the questions that they ask about these three things are as follows. The first thing is, what is that on top of your camera? And what this is a bubble float. Okay, a little piece of plastic, a bit like a tradies float, tradesman float. It sits on top of the hot shoe of the camera like so, and that way I can level my horizon and level the camera with the geared head that I use. Now I know that you're saying, well Glenn, there's an electronic leveler in this camera, but it's one less setting that I have to go into and one less button I have to push. And using this piece of Perspex little box with a level in it, which sits on top of the hot shoe, I can work very quickly, and I can level up that camera quite smartly without having to go into another setting and pushing other buttons and so forth. So it just suits my way of shooting. The next thing they ask me is, what on earth is that thing hanging around your neck? Now, this is called a Hoodman Loop. Now what I do, I've spoken about this before. These were originally designed for people that have trouble seeing the back of the live view screen when it's bright sunshine. Well, for me, being a landscape photographer early morning or late afternoon, I'm not shooting in bright sunlight. But what I do use this for, what I use this for is I put it at the back of the camera like that, and I look through here, and that helps me with my composition. It's a Hoodman Loop, okay? 3 times magnification. But it also enables me to check my focus points. I start off with autofocus and switch to manual focus, fine-tune manual focus. But while I'm fine-tuning in manual focus, I'm using the Hoodman Loop on the back of the camera like so. There you have it. Probably one of the best photographic accessories I've ever purchased, quite frankly, in all these years. So it's a Hoodman Loop. Strongly suggest you get one, because they help you see on the back of the screen. Even sometimes at sunrise photography, the sun will hit, or the light will hit the back of the live view, and it's very hard to see your image. But this is just absolutely fantastic. 3 times magnification, so it blows everything up in your eye, and you can actually see what you're doing. The next thing that people ask me, what is that you're using and why do you use it? And I tell them basically what it is a view catcher. Okay, I don't know many photographers that use these. I do know my friend over in the United States, Michael Scott, morning Michael, from Scotty Man Photos, uses one of these. This is my second one. The first one I lost in a waterfall, would you believe it? And I couldn't retrieve it. So I went and purchased another one from a local art store in where I live. And it's a piece of plastic with a slide in it like so. And what I do, what a view catcher was designed to do was to help artists or painters, portrait people, or people that come out into areas that paint natural scenes. And they can frame up their composition. But it works for photographers as well. And what I do, I go like this. and then like that. So by doing this, I'm wide angle, but by doing that, I'm zoomed out. So this actually lets me know what focal length I need to use. It's just an incredible bit of plastic, would you believe it? But it also has different formats, 16 by 9, 3 by 2. So if you're shooting mirrorless, you can get your crop like so. Okay, so this is called a view catcher. They're only about $40 to buy, a bit expensive for a piece of plastic, but in the olden days, photographers and filmmakers used to do that, right? So this piece of plastic replaces that. So they're the three things that I often get asked about when I'm out and about in areas like this. But this is just an absolute gorgeous place. Very old. This is just outside of Camden, as I said, a very old area of southwestern Sydney, extremely old. Probably first established in the very early 1800s, and there's some old buildings here, which over the next few weeks I'll be photographing here, and the light is now starting to come up quite quickly. So I'll run through with you my first composition here, and what I've got, this is an estate, Glendon and the Dam Cottage, and it's right up over the top of the hill. 450 people live in this area, but they live over the top of the hills. Now, all the roads here, these are country lanes, a bit like Richmond Lowlands, but it seems to be a lot tighter. So the first composition, I'll turn this camera around and I'll show you exactly how I'm going to photograph this. Okay, I've got this nice scene here, which, using my view catcher, I'm looking at the shape and form. Shape and form, it's another very important aspect to our landscape photography, shape and form. So what is shape and form? Well, the shape, as you can see here, is this S in the road and the S bend in the fence. So it's acting as a dual leading line. That's what you call shape and form in photography. Shape and form, remember that. So I've looked at through the view catcher, and it's telling me really I need to be shooting this around about 16mm, which I do have the 16 to 35. The doing of landscape lenses on this camera today. So what I'll do, I'll take this image and I'll put it up on the screen and you can take a look at it. But as I said, this is about shape and form. The shape is the actual S bend. There's two S bends or S leading lines as the bend. That's the shape, and the form is the actual coming together of all the elements. So remember that, shape and form coming together with all the elements. So I'll take that shot and I will put up on the screen. I have my tripod up very high. I like to have tripods that go well beyond 2 meters to 2.1 meters. I'm currently about 1.95. Yep. Step away from the tripod. Let me just check that image. Yeah, that's pretty good. I'll check the histogram and the RGB. Yeah, that's not too bad. I'll take another one. Okay, when you're shooting in RAW, it's good to have your blinkies or highlight warning on in the back of the screen. And if you take your image, you do get a slight flicker or zebras, only a little bit, don't worry about it because you'll be able to correct that in Lightroom, but it mightn't even show up, to be quite honest. So it's only if you have all these zebras, you've blown out all your highlights, because I've got the sky on the right hand side, but I've got some nice light coming through those trees. So I might just stick around here for about another half an hour and see what I can come up with. But once again, I'll put these images up through this video, and also a couple at the end. Yes, the light isn't quite where I want it, but definitely wide angle, about 16mm I feel. I think it's worth having a go. I've got some beautiful double leading lines here as an S pattern. I think yeah, there's a couple of shots here, there's a couple of images here. Just using this view catcher, I was able to determine that 16 to 18mm full frame will give me the focal length that I need. As you can see here, I have a double leading line in an S, a really nice rural tranquil scene. You might hear a few cows in the background, but they're obviously wanting to be milked or something, I don't know, but they're bellowing out. It's a nice sound though, lovely place. Beautiful place this. I'll put a link to this location in the description box below at the end of this video. But as I got here, I have this leading S, and then the road follows. So it's a double leading line, and as you can see, it's an S between the trees. A really nice composition, and this is where it's so important that you try and scout a location physically. I know some people haven't got the time to do this, to scout an area. You can use Google Earth and other places like that, but even if you just pull out a weekend just to drive around and make notes and do pin drops, like I did here for the past week, and I found this location. I'm actually on this little country road here. As you can see, that's what the road looks like. It's only very narrow, but this is going to be a really nice shot using the fence and the country lane as two leading lines into the scene. This is how you create depth. Depth in your images is very important. You're looking at, when somebody looks at this image, their eye is going to follow that pattern. So it's all about the structure and creating depth with an image like this. So just play around with it. This is not rocket science, this isn't hard, but you've got to develop the eye. You have to develop the eye to get this right. So I'll take this shot and I'll put it up on the screen so you can take a look. Okay, the light isn't too bad, but I just think now I'm focusing about 1, 2, 3, 4, about four posts in. That'll give me good focus point all the way through the depth of field, and it will be pin sharp. So we'll take this one. We'll see how we go. Okay, now I'm a little bit overexposed with the sky, so what I'll do, I will use exposure compensation. Remember in a video a couple of days ago I spoke about shooting in aperture priority. Much better here in a situation like this. You can control your exposure with during aperture priority and using exposure compensation. So I'm going to come down probably half a stop. Absolutely. Really good. I'll take another one just to make sure. Using exposure compensation. Yep, I'll do another one. Okay, that's good. So by using exposure compensation, I managed to control the exposure. It's very important that you try and remember exposure compensation and how it works with your images. So I'll take a few more shots and then I'll move further down this road and I'll get to that old barn that was built in 1857, just an incredible structure. And there's another driveway which is really, really nice. So I can't wait to show you that. So I'll take a few more shots and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Okay, this is the old barn from 1857 that you can see just here. And I'll be shooting this front on, but I'm standing it sort of like in this meadow here, and absolutely beautiful scenery here. You can't get any more rural than this. It's still very cold, but it's so peaceful. The sun now is up a bit higher, but there's some big trees over to my left or to your right. But that's the scene there. That's what I'm looking at. Okay, over there. So as you can see, where I'm shooting straight through, I've got these trees here using as natural frames. So, but basically, we'll just check it again. Yeah, that's okay. That's quite nice. I've adjusted my white balance back to daylight white balance now because I'm in. It's the light. The light could be better, but I'm trying to work with what I have here. So I'll take this shot and I'll put it up on the screen, and then I'll just move over there. There's some long grass. I'll go over there, and that way I can get a different angle of the barn. So, but just an absolute beautiful place. And I think with landscape photography, you've got to appreciate nature, and you've got to appreciate what Mother Nature has given us. And this is just, well, what can I say? Absolutely magnificent. However, I'm running about 6 weeks late here because on the ground, all these autumn leaves, all these trees would have been in that beautiful red, golden, a lot of Japanese maple here, apparently, and it would have been fantastic. So that's on the bucket list for next year when I come out here again in autumn and catch those autumn colours of these trees. But as I said, I'll take the shot, put it up on the screen, and then I'll move over there and I'll show you a different perspective. Okay, I've changed. Just moved over to my left here, and I'm in the long grass here now. So basically I'm now getting the tree on this side, and with the barn on the right hand side, the light's coming through from the top. But as I said, I've got that big tree on the left framing the barn. This is what I call building the image. You have to look at what is in the scene and then try and build something around that image or around that structure for that image. And as I said, I'm probably running 5 or 6 weeks late. This would be really, really, really nice when the autumn leaves are out, but I'm running a bit late here. But other than that, I've still got some nice light now, some nice light coming up from the top there, you'll see there. I'll just wait probably for about another 15 minutes and just wait and see if that light actually lights up the front of this barn. Just an incredible place, as I said, but it's very important that well, what I want you to take away from this is scouting. Yeah, this is a new area for me, and I drove 2 hours to get here. But during the week, I managed to get out here a few mornings without the camera gear and just had a look around and seen what the light was doing on the landscape or on the actual scene. So scouting is super important. Seriously, it's probably one of the most important things about our photography, really, especially when it comes to landscape photography. So, but I'll take a couple more shots, put them up on the screen so you can take a look. And then, yes, I think I've just about got that covered. There could be possibly one or two more, I don't know, but if there is, I'll put them up on the screen, but I'll get back to you at the end of this video. Okay, the light's now starting to filter through from my right hand side, and it's coming across the face of the old barn. Now, I'm going to be shooting at around about 24 millimeters, this one. I've got a bit of foreground here that I want to use, a bit of like, it's just like grass and leaves and things like that. And that's acting as a bed for the actual foreground leading into the old barn. We've got the tree on the left hand side. So I'll turn this video camera around and I'll show you exactly how I'll be constructing this image by using the light, the carpet of the foreground with the grass, the tree, and finally the main actor on stage, which is the old barn. Okay, I have framed the image up with the view catcher, and I think I'm right on my composition. As I said, I've got all this grass here, and that's acting as a carpet, got the tree on the left hand side, and then the barn, this beautiful barn, which is slowly being lit up from this ambient sort of light coming through the trees. Basically, with light in photography, the idea is to shape the light around your subject. In other words, by moving yourself. Now, a lot of people think, well, they can shoot handheld, shoot landscapes handheld. I disagree with that totally, because you're talking about stabilisation, but people seem to think, well, it's limiting my way of taking photographs because I set my tripod up and I don't move. Well, that's not the tripod's fault, that's your fault, because the idea is the tripod is for stabilisation. It's not to anchor you in one location, one spot. So I've got this filtered light. So the idea is I'm using this light to light up the barn, because us landscape photographers, we don't have man-made light, we have natural light. And you need to get your head around, you need a 360 degree visualization in your mind as to how you want the scene to be, look like when you're finished doing the whole process. So this light now is really starting to come on here, and it's been shaded by these trees, but there's no leaves on the trees, which is pretty good in this instance because I'm getting the filtered light through, more filtered light than if there was leaves on these trees. So it's slowly lighting up the face of the barn. So yeah, use the light, shape the light around your subject, around your landscape subject, or whatever you're photographing in the landscape. But yeah, just absolutely gorgeous scene here. It's so quiet and peaceful, and I love this. But yeah, look, I'll take a couple more shots and I'll put it up on the screen and I'll get back to you at the end. Well, that's it, folks. That's another episode of Sniper Photography here at Brownhill Hill, which is just outside of Camden in in the southwestern part of Sydney, excuse me. absolutely freezing. It's still only 1, maybe 2 degrees here, but I have to say the composition here is as good as anything. Really, it's worth the drive out here. I'll put the links to this location in the description box below this video. I hope you can take something out of this, especially when it concerns shaping light around your subject, and you'll see in the images in this video, or you would have seen the images in this video, the scouting. Scouting is just paramount to your success, because I arrived here at about 4:30, 20 to 5, and it was very, very dark. But if I hadn't have scouted this area, I probably would have missed half a dozen of these compositional opportunities, because it's no use traipsing around in the dark trying to find compositions when, if possible, you could have scouted the area a few days prior. I know it's difficult for people to come out to a location all the time. I do have that time to do that. That's how my life is. But yeah, look, scouting is super important. As I said, you can use Google Earth, Google Maps, Instagram, any of the social media platforms, but at the end of the day, I don't think you can beat actually physically going into an area and making mental notes, or even writing them down, or even putting them in your phone, do pin drops on the local area through Google Maps. That way you know where to go when you arrive at your location, because you've already scouted it out. Also too, the little bubble float on top of the camera, they're only $10 each. Get them online, buy them online, they're fantastic. The view catcher, just another good piece of equipment to use, and the Loupe, and I'll put a link to all those things in the description box below this video as well. So, but I hope you take something out of this. I hope you enjoyed this video. I really love bringing these videos to you. I love teaching photography. It's my profession, and I love the landscape. This is how I relax from the commercial side or commercial structure of my job. So, but coming out into these rural areas, absolutely fantastic. In a few days' time, I'll be coming back here, but not actually this location. Just up on the road, there's a disused church, and it's at a place called Teresa Park, and that has to be done in a sunrise situation, because the sun will light up the side of that church. I've already scouted it out during the week when I was here, but yeah, look, that'll be in the next couple of days. I'll put that one up and I'll show you how to photograph an old disused church. And there's quite a few of them in this area. As I said, this is a very, very old area, and of the Wollondilly Shire. Absolutely fantastic. So that's it for another episode of Sniper Photography. Thank you for all your support and all your kind words. I much appreciate it. Look, leave some more comments down below, and I'll certainly get back to you when I can. So as I always say, be nice to yourself, family and friends, but most of all, you keep shooting and keep smiling. Bye for now. And I'm going to get a coffee.